High Rock, the northwesternmost region in Tamriel and home of the Bretons. The province is bursting with epic tales spanning all the way from the Dawn Era to the Fourth. The Bretons rose to power in High Rock in an incredibly unique way, surviving the rule of many mighty clans and dynasties before establishing themselves as the true rulers of this coastal region. In this video, we'll be giving you a brief glimpse into the history of this proud and diverse land. Let's start at the beginning, in the Dawn Era. The Aedra were the first settlers on this fertile land. Little is known of what occurred during their time on High Rock, but it is believed that the Aedra built the magnificent landmark known as the Adamantine Tower. Aside from its size, it is notable for potentially being the oldest structure in Tamriel. The tower was supposedly used as a meeting place for Auriel and the Aedra to decide the fate of Lorkhan, who had tricked them into creating the mortal plane. The first known mortals to settle in High Rock, creating permanent communities, were the Aldmer, travelling from the Somerset Isles in the Merethic era. The next arrival was by early Nedic settlers who grossly underestimated how advanced and sophisticated the Aldmer inhabitants were. They were soon assimilated into the existing communities, forming a new race, a hybrid of man and mer. Early tales tell of a Nord raiding party who, when finding these elf humans, mistook them at first for Altmer before naming them Man-Meri. In modern times, however, the name we give this race is the Bretons. It took many generations for this newfound race known as the Bretons to become the dominant force in High Rock. For the most part, the First Era was still dominated by the original Aldmer settlers. The most renowned of these Aldmeri families was known as Clan Direnni. We already know that these communities were quite sophisticated by First Era standards, and that showed itself in the Direnni clan's success when expanding throughout Tamriel. In fact, at this time in history, High Rock was more commonly known as simply the Direnni Hegemony. The Durrani posed a continual threat to the Nords of Skyrim and the Elysian Empire of Cyrodiil, and the Durrani domain incorporated approximately 1/4 of Tamriel at the height of their prominence. This power dwindled slowly though, as the Durrani ambition caused their reach to stretch beyond their means to control the ground they gained. Eventually they faded into obscurity and retreated to the Isle of Balfiera and the Adamantine Tower, which was now known as the Direnni Tower. Without the influence of the most powerful Aldmeri clan, High Rock was up for the taking, and this lined up perfectly with the slow rise to power of the Bretons. While the big names squabbled over land and politics, the Bretons were growing in size, establishing small villages in favourable positions and encouraging commerce as a means to develop a thriving economy. The Bretons didn't need to war for control over High Rock's major territories. They achieved the same ends by simply growing the population of the Bretons in these areas. Soon after, the Yakudans conquered Hammerfell, and these two cultures, Breton and Redguard, warred for control over Eiluk Bay until they created a common enemy in the form of the ostracized orcs of Orsinium. With relative peace struck between the Bretons and the Redguards, we now find ourselves in the Second Era. When the Empire united under the leadership of the mighty Tiber Septim, High Rock turned out to be quite vulnerable. The Breton method for expansion through healthy commerce between individual fractured kingdoms may have made their rise to prominence simple, but it also made them vulnerable. The Imperials united under one banner and one belief system. They tore down the small Breton settlements and cities one by one, and so the province of High Rock joined the new empire under Talos. The Bosmeri dynasty, known as the Cameron dynasty, ruled in Valenwood, and in the Third Era, led by Cameron the Usurper, they marched north, conquering, taking advantage of the weak emperor sitting on the imperial throne. The Bretons of High Rock pulled off an uncharacteristic feat in the defense here, as they managed to set aside their individual differences, and many of the houses banded together to defeat the threat. This took Tamriel by quite a surprise, as in the previous era, the Bretons had put up little to no resistance to the conquering Imperials. Despite this resounding success, it didn't take long for the internal and external conflicts of the Breton states to boil over once again. They returned to their splintered communities with the absence of a common enemy to unite them. The Bretons warred on the eastern front, with the Nords losing land in the process, and they warred in the west as Daggerfall and Sentinel came to blows once again. And to make matters even worse, the Orcs of Orsinium reappeared to pose a threat to Wayrest. What happened next seemed to reek of divine intervention. The miracle of peace occurred, known to some as the Warp in the West. This miracle formed the Eiluk Bay region and all of the key cities in the area, and at the tail end of the Third Era, the province of High Rock was more unified than ever before. Following the miracle of peace as the Fourth Era began, 30 small Breton kingdoms were now 5. This streamlining of power was a welcome change to High Rock, even if the inhabitants hadn't known it beforehand. Daggerfall enlarged greatly. Camlorn, with its newfound southern allies, became a formidable kingdom. The northern kingdoms used the chaos of the Warp to annex many petty territories, and Wayrest became the home of the Republic of Corsair pirates. In the present day, High Rock remains a stable part of the Imperial Empire, which currently consists of Cyrodiil, Western Skyrim, and High Rock. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you enjoyed this video, guys. This is our first history of video, and we absolutely loved making it for you. So if you want to see more, show us some love, and we have so much in the works for future history and lore content. Don't forget to head down into the description of the video where you can find our social media accounts, and you should go follow us all on those. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Scott, and I look forward to nerding out with you again next time.